few months ago now, I went and bought a crash damaged Porsche 981 GT4 from a salvage auction, went and picked it up and got it back to the yard. Just look how bad the damage is. So if you're new to the series, please do subscribe and also follow me on Instagram at saving_salvage. And if you haven't seen the Porsche GT4 series up to date, please click on the top right hand corner and go and watch the videos prior to this one. So we started off by buying a whole near side rear stub axle from a 718 GT4, which actually swapped straight over, which was a bit of a result because the parts are more easily available for a 718 for some reason. And then it was all about pulling the near side rear quarter out, cutting out the panels. As you can see here, I'm cutting out the rear quarter panel just to see what damage we've got underneath it. And that resulted in me pulling a few more panels, removing a few more bent panels, and then ordering £6,000 of the body parts from Porsche Germany. And then we've just been waiting for them to get delivered. That pretty much brings us up to date. Yes guys, we are back on the Porsche Cayman GT4. Now I was going to do a nice little video of me driving out the container, but then I remembered I've actually got no brakes at all in the GT4, so trying to reverse it out and then coming down the ramps on my own without actually having to control the car is not going to be fun. So I thought I've just set the ramps up, I'm going to pull it out myself. That might be more entertaining for you. So I thought while it's nice and sunny, I'll show you the parts that we've got outside. Now, these are the three main components that I've got, which should make up most of the rear end. Now, I'm just going to move that because I think that sits under that. Well, that sits in between. Oh, it's all confusing. I've ended up dragging it inside because you couldn't see anything in the sun. But those are my three parts here. So we've got our box section, the quarter panel, and sort of the little bit in between, which you're going to have to turn your screen sideways. So that should make up our rear end here, or our rear quarter, those three main bits. So let's go take a look. Oh, because we've got all this as well, look. Massive bit here that I probably don't need, so we may, I don't know yet. So let's go take a look at the car now, and it might give us a better idea of what we're doing. Because looking at this bit here, it may make sense if this is a natural join on the car to actually replace it as it is like this, but I know for a fact that will not be a natural join. Right, so first thing we'll check out is this down here, because looking at it, yeah, this looks to be, look, you can see the lip there, a natural join. So we'll have to remove all this. Oh, that's easy. We'll have to remove all this, remove the side skirt fully, and it looks like we'll be replacing this whole panel here, which I do not believe this is part of. I think, no, it doesn't. This is just a skin over the top, so it will literally weld to here, look, and around here. So the new quarter panel roughly ends about here, so we're gonna have to obviously cut there and weld in the new bit. So we need to find a good point to do that. The new, because I think, yeah, so that's a new overlapping bit there. So again, we'll check the quarter panel to see if that actually goes up to there or not, because it might actually well do. So if it does, that can be again a factory join position, which is good. Now, I did just have a look at the quarter panel, and it looks like it ends about here. Oh no, I think it actually does come up to there, actually. So I think it's going to be that factory bit there. So we're just going to have to, well, obviously cut it out there. So no, I think that'll be right. So now I've got a little bit of a better understanding of what we're going to be doing. Let's get her in the workshop and start drilling, cutting, and just ripping it apart, basically. So this is going to be a nice, fun, long one for me. I'm going to have to be drilling for ages. I think the first thing I'm going to do while it's off the ramp is just remove this whole side skirt here. So then we'll put it on the ramp, we'll get it up in the air, and then yeah, it'll be a case of drilling out hundreds of little spot welds to remove the panels that we need to. So I need to go all down here as well, underneath that side skirt, all under there, and try and remove as carefully as I can the part that we don't need, and eventually cut the section here somewhere, and yeah, pull it all out. And yeah, I've got all these across to do as well. So I think I'm just going to put it on one big time lapse, and yeah, hopefully it will go all right. Right, so we're making really good progress. Got this massive bit panel off over here, which is over there. I'm really glad I bought an air chisel because it's just made life so much easier and saved me hammering, and actually keeps things from going out of shape as well. So I've managed not to twist or bend or break or anything of the original chassis. So at the minute, we need to replace this panel here, and I'm just trying to remove it from under this bracket here so we don't have to mess anything up with that. So as you can see, I'm just at the process of just trying to get this off. It wraps underneath this part here, which we are also replacing. So I'm just trying to figure out the best way, because I'm guessing there's probably going to be some spot things that you can see on there, look, under here. So it's just trying to find out the best way of removing this without breaking it. So we need to remove it up here, look, so we can see that's where our join is here. So I need to try and remove it from around about here downwards. So yeah, I'll figure it out, and yeah, let's keep going. I really tried my hardest not to remove this part here, because I was trying to, because we're replacing this panel under it, I was trying to remove it so it was in situ and wouldn't need to affect it. But unfortunately, underneath this panel, there's another little bracket, which you can probably see this thing here. And to get that off, the welds were under, as you can see, look, 1 and 2, they were under that bracket. So there was just no way I was going to be able to remove it without taking that off. And I thought, instead of trying to remove it off of this, which looks like an absolute ball ache and end up making probably quite a bit of a mess, I thought a nice staggered cut here, look, and then we can weld that all back on and it'll be as good as new anyway. So that's what I've gone for. So I can now remove these two spot welds here and hopefully get this bloody panel off. Right, so I finally got that panel off, and there turned out to be a couple more actual rivets as well. So yeah, definitely needed to, unfortunately, cut that bit to get it off. Now, this is where we need to work out what to do, because obviously the damage, you can see this panel here was damaged in the crash, and you can see where I've cut it out. Now I have this panel here. Here it is, look, and as you can see, it is quite a big panel, and it goes all the way back, probably up to the bulkhead. But for me to actually fit that fully would mean I'd have to then start cutting out this main structure bit here, and God knows what else down in that gap there, and it is just not feasible, in my opinion, to be doing that. So I think the best thing that I can do is find a section, the best section possible, to cut it off and weld it in. And I think it's probably at this, the thinnest point, which is actually probably here, so we don't have to mess around with this bracket. And that would give us two ways of rigidity. So if we cut it at the thinnest point as well, so roughly here, and it will, so we can then weld it to the existing piece here, but it will also give us a little bit of an additional support because it will still be welded to the main structure here as well. So yeah, I think that's the best way of doing it. So if we do a cut along here and then drill out these bits of rivets here and down here, and then we can fit this panel all normally and get it welded in just here. I think that's the best way of doing it. I don't really want to mess with this tower at all, but if there's only going to be sort of like 4 rivets there and a couple down the side there, it's probably the best way to do it. And anyway, this bit's thick enough here anyway, so I shouldn't impact that at all. It's just where, I mean, I don't know where it's going to end. If I start trying to go down there, it could be attached to another part, and yeah, it just wouldn't end. So for the sake of that, I think this is our best bet, just to cut it about here. So I was just lining up my chassis leg here, and I've noticed a slight problem, and that is we have a duplicate of parts. So this panel piece here is actually the same as this panel piece here. And as you can see, look, with the angles, it's the exact same piece. So I've got 2 pieces the same, and I don't need both. So I need to work out which one to get rid of. Now, I think it's obvious to get rid of this one. 2 reasons. One, because it's only held on with rivets at the top there, not top and bottom. And the other reason is we don't need this part anyway, so I would have had to have cut it off here anyway. So I might as well just drill through these rivets here and then just get rid of this whole section that we don't need. And also we're doing our cut here as well. So I think that makes the most sense. So just looking at the leg, the other side, the actual chassis leg here, look, is a part on its own. Look, it's not actually joined to the main structure, and we have that same part on this side. So it looks like what we've got to do is, I've just had a quick go, and it will do it. We have to kind of fit it over there, knock it on, and kind of slide it in like what I'm kind of doing here. But obviously you need to do it with 2 hands, not 1. So that's kind of what we got to do. So I've started cleaning up with a grinder all down here. Look, so it's all nice and clean, ready to weld the new panels on. Done here as well, and all round here. So that is all done. The last thing I've really got to do is cut this section here to the right. It's going to be quite tricky cutting this out here without damaging anything else. So that is the last thing we need to do. Now, the way I'm marking this up is definitely not the way to do it, but it's the only way I could really think of doing it. I'm sure you guys are going to let me know if there's a much better way of doing it, but this is what I've got. So I've literally just done a cutout of the shape of the rear window, which is nicely around there, and I've made sure that the edge is exactly in line with where we need to cut it. So the idea is I now go over, stick that to the one I've already got, and that should give me the line here of where I need to cut. I mean, yeah, that should be close enough. What I'll probably do is come over like a mil or 2 over this line here, because I can always grind back a little bit if I need to. I can't add on. So yeah, I'm just going to cut down, and it actually, if you look, does end up bang on with this join here. So yeah. Right, so I've managed to actually cut this out without actually damaging too much of the other structure, so happy with that. So I've just managed to slide my new chassis leg on here, look, and if you look, it's the exact same as this other side here, which is obviously undamaged. So that is going to be a factory joint, and as you can see, I've just slid it round here onto the side here, and it just slots nicely in that gap. So that will nicely be aligned. Well, it will be. I'm actually going to try and fit the rear crash bar up to these now to see if it all fits. And there we go, look, I fitted a few more parts to build it up so you can have a bit of an idea of what it's going to look like. But yeah, it's starting to come together. So as I said, chassis leg went in perfectly, so did the crash bar. This panel here I've just rested in place just to make sure everything looks good, and it does. This rear panel here is a bit hard to rest because it kind of needs to come up a bit, but just getting a bit of an idea of how it's all going to sit. And then yeah, we've got our quarter panel here, which is going to nicely mate to the rest of the car, and yeah, just needs a little bit of adjustment, needs moving in a little bit down here, but you can get the idea of how it's going to go. So yeah, really happy with the progress of today's video. That is the hardest part done, so it should all be fun now. Now I'm not going to weld all this up myself. I'm going to get a professional welder in to do it, just because my welder, I've run out of gas for one, and I think I just prefer to get someone who does it for a living just to weld it all up properly. So that's going to be it for today's video, guys. I hope you did enjoy the video on the Cayman GT4. I don't know why I always say this at the end of the video, but please do like and subscribe, and also follow me on Instagram at saving_salvage. I should really say all that stuff at the beginning, but I just keep forgetting. So as always, guys, thank you very much for watching. Have a good weekend, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers, guys.